Yeah, hello and welcome to this video. Yeah, this is a video about all the games that I had played recently where the videos had no sound. Yeah, a big disappointment for me. I invested quite a bit of time in recording those. It's 30 games in total and they all have no sound. I have the videos, they have no sound. And what I decided to do is simply to put all those games into a Lichess study here and discuss some of the highlights or discuss some of the more interesting games, maybe some key points of the games. I felt uploading the games without any sound would be a little bit odd. I was thinking about it, but I think just picking out some good moments out of the games and explaining them is more useful to just put the games out with no sound. And dubbing them afterwards is just an enormous amount of time that I mean, I wasn't really sure how to do it. I mean, I had some ideas how to do it, but it's lots of work. And I basically want to invest time in getting new good videos done, but I also don't want to simply ignore those 30 games. And there were some interesting moments for sure. So let's get right into it. I have the games here loaded into Lichess Study and I've sorted them probably in the wrong order, right? I'm starting with the most recent games, but it doesn't really matter all that much. The videos are not released anyway. So let's get rolling. I have 30 games in total, so I won't remember every single detail, but when I see the rough outline of the moves, I'll be able to tell you what were the key points. So let's start. That's the first game when I was actually black, so I can switch colors. And playing here, that was played today, and I had black in the game, and we had a d4 e6 c4 bishop b4 check. This is a kind of a Bogo-Indian, but without the knight being out on f6. This adds some interesting twists. As we see in this game, I got into a position where I went to play e5 here, and we had a closed position. Now, with knight not being on f6, I have additional ideas to play f5 in one go without moving the knight. That's quite interesting. After bishop d3, I played h6, preventing any knight g5 moves. For example, if f5 is happening, then this is very awkward. Yeah, I got the engine lines here, so you can see what the engine is doing. By the way, all the games, if they are, I play them on Lichess for a couple of reasons, but one reason is that every single game you can access in Lichess. If you go into my profile and you go into games, you can absolutely replay all of the games or download them if you want. So you have a much better access to those games compared to me playing those games on different platform. So okay, here f5 was bad, so I went to h6. Now opponent surprised me by playing knight h4, which leaves this knight hanging, and I decided to challenge him on that. So now the knight was attacked, discovered attack. After the capture, queen takes. White actually has very decent compensation for the pawn. He has the idea to play a quick f4 and open up the position for his bishop. So that would have been interesting, but my opponent surprised me with knight to g6. Pretty weird kamikaze move. This knight is going to be taken anyway. I can snatch yet another pawn, and then I take on g6. And here my position is a lot better. I've got two extra pawns, and g5 was designed to stop f4. Yeah, the position is more or less clearly winning. 2 pawns is a bit too much. And the only interesting moment a little bit later was here when my opponent took on c5. And this does not really work, but still, you have to be precise. Take, and now knight to f4 is a good move. It attacks the rook, covers the bishop, and attacks this bishop. And that is too much in one go. He should have taken on g7. I think this is a bit tougher. Instead he took on e6 and resigned one move later. But if he takes on g7, you can imagine a sequence like that. And here I at least have to find, yeah, I mean I probably managed, but I have to find this one, queen f4. I'm 2 pieces up, so I can easily return 1. And now I'm threatening queen c1 mate and win. Yeah, in the game he took e6, and after the recapture it was just a win with a rook up, and he resigned here. So yeah, this is a decent opening line, by the way, this bishop b4 check. If you don't mind to play 1 e6, which invites a French, then 1 e6 is a good reply. Okay, the second game here, yeah, that was an English opening. We can jump right to this position. Oops, to this position after d4. If you look at this, he played a King's Indian setup against my English, and I was very happy with this position because White's pieces are much better coordinated. They are all somewhat geared towards the center, while the knight on a6 and the knight on e8, they both look a little bit odd. He played knight to b4, and now after this sequence we simplified the position, but the main issue is that d6 is a weak pawn on a half open file, and black really has no compensation for that. In the game he later tried to break out with d5 like that, but that ultimately lost the pawn, and the resulting ending is favorable for white, like a lot. Not just because of the pawn, which is very useful, but also because of the advantage in space and the g6 weakness. I think it became entirely lost once he decided to play a6, and that is giving me yet more to play against. b7 pawn. Yeah, this is a winning ending. I did not really play it in the fastest possible way, but I kept a really sizable advantage and managed to at the end win this. Here there's a little bit of an interesting moment. He took on f4. It would have been interesting to see rook a4 being played, but the key point is that here I can take with the rook, and rook takes does not work because king b6 check picks up this rook. It was important. He took on f4, and now I got to pick up the a pawn, and my pawn is just a lot quicker, so I won this endgame pretty easily at the end. Yeah, that was a fairly typical game for the English opening. You get structures like that quite frequently if you play this often. Okay, this was a black game, so I'm going to switch colors. Yeah, this had some interesting moments. I don't want to look at the opening all that much. This one's one interesting moment. When you look at this position here, white has just checked on d5, and during the game I saw that after bishop e6, f takes, rook a d8, the queen is trapped. During the game I actually did not spot that e7 now is just good. After rook takes, queen, I capture, he takes. He has an excellent position. He's got 2 bishops and a rook for the queen, which is of course fantastic. I actually did not see e7. I was only thinking, even after some normal, not normal, but yeah, like nothing special. And I take here, and this I already felt was a bit weird to play against, so I avoided that. I played king h8, he played rook d1, and here in fact rook d8 was a strong move, which somehow I missed. I'm not quite sure why. Maybe I was so focused on not playing against the queen, I don't know. I played bishop b7, rook d8 here was strong. He has to do this then, and it's not really clear that white has chances to fight in this position. I'm probably just a lot better. Yeah, I played bishop to b7, and we got a position where I won the e-pawn, and yeah, later I misplayed it and we got to a rook ending, which was better for black, but not necessarily winning. And then we had a funny situation. It continued, and it's just a draw, really. And he somehow managed to find a way to kill himself, and this was here. Here, of course, you have to go rook a8 and go back to keep an eye on that pawn. As long as the rook is attacking a2, I cannot move my a1 rook and then promote as a2 is hanging. And there is no check, of course, for me that makes any sense with the rook. This is just a draw. I can try to maneuver with the king, but whenever I go forward, there's going to be a check. And he managed to play rook c8, and after king to b7, it's over. He cannot prevent this. This was really funny because he had some time left, I remember. I'm not sure if this is on this, it's not displayed here, but he had time left. I remember that quite clearly. And yeah, now I got the queen and won this, won this quite quickly. Yeah, queen against rook is a fairly easy win anyway, and especially against a human player, you will very often end up like that, where you just pick up the rook. It's extremely difficult to prevent the simple loss of the rook. Okay, next game in Psych, that was not very exciting. This guy is very high rated, 2630. I played the Petrov, and we got this bishop e7 line where I get to trade those bishops. And I think once black is there, like in this position, you have excellent chances to draw against almost anybody, because the position has very little tension. It's very little that white can play for, some sort of non-symmetrical idea that makes something happen. In the game, nothing much happened really. It was a huge trade fest. The only thing is, like, the ending I got was actually quite nice, and there was one particular situation that I want to point out. Here I decided to take on a4, and it would have been really better to play b4. After b4, black has quite good chances really to play for more than a draw. I did not want to place that on a dark square, but it keeps some important squares like c3 under control, and generally speaking gains space. I have some chances to try to play for a win with g4 and then h4, and I've got a little bit more space and ideas to improve. It's still very likely a draw, but I could have tried. And in the game after the capture, it was just very equalish. Yeah, the Petrov is a super solid defense. If you play a strong player with black and you are totally fine with a solid position, the Petrov is excellent. Okay, the next game, that was against Louis Michel, very difficult name for me. This was classical Dutch, and I played the move b4, forgetting my prep. I actually play b3, and I think it's a good line for white. And I don't really see that black can equalize against it at all. But however, I forgot it, and I played b4, and some moves later, black surprised me by playing knight to d7, and this was actually after this sequence leading to trouble, because e4 is attacked twice, you only have d5 to cover it, and after the capture and queen b3, this situation here attacks e4, and he cannot take it. He cannot cover it, I'm sorry. After knight here, I just take this, and I'm a big pawn up, and I went on to win this game quite quickly. Yeah, the classical Dutch is not an opening I would recommend. If you play it and somehow it works out for you, okay, you can do it, but there's very little incentive to pick it up. I think there are too many problem variations. Okay, the next game played against Jinzul Dip. We had a Rosso Limo, and the game boiled down to one particular situation. Here, I think white is a little bit more comfortable. If you check the details, the bishop on g7 doesn't look all that great. And I played rook e4 in this position. And I remember that during the live commentary that was lost at the end, I was saying that, okay, he has to go back maybe to d5, and then we'll see what happens. And I mentioned that queen takes b2 does not work due to knight to c4 and the queen is trapped. And in fact, after a couple of seconds, whoosh, he took it. And after knight c4, the queen is indeed trapped. It only has c3 or b4, and in both cases, bishop to d2 will cut off every single possible escape square. So he took on a1, and I was a queen up and won this easily. He, of course, should not have taken on b2, but rather go back maybe to d5. And then I'm not sure what I would have done. I envisioned something like that to happen. And I feel like white is a little bit better here. The main reason is that those central squares, d6, e6, e7, they tend to be weak. And the bishop pair is not super relevant, as both black's bishops don't do all that much. Okay, yeah, this game, yeah, that was also basically decided in the opening. I played a Sicilian Kalashnikov here with black, and white went knight f3, which is not very critical. The reason is that black gets this easy development, and with the bishop coming to b2, it's like a tempo move. You have to think about those threats. Probably best in this position for white is to play bishop c4, simply go for developing. Yeah, this was already comfortable, and a little bit later he made a mistake. After b4 I took on c3, and here of course white has to take on a5, after which queen takes a5, leads to a position where black is a pawn up, but the game continues. I'm a lot better, but it just continues. And he instead, after d takes c3, he took on d8 and overlooked that I can take with the bishop and save it. So I was a piece up for nothing much, and he resigned a couple of moves later. So basically an opening win. Okay, the next game against Benitovic was even shorter. We had wire transposition. We had a Philidor's defense, and people are not aware of that so much, but this position is already quite good for white. It normally would not arise from knight f3, but from e4, e5, knight f3, d6, d4, best move, knight d7, bishop c4. And bishop c4 is an important move, because this is really putting knight d7 into question. Whatever black does, he is in some trouble. The relatively best choice, but rarely played because it does not fit very well with knight d7, is to take on d4. Sorry, is to take on d4, which is only a slight edge for white. Like queen d4, knight d4, both is a slight advantage. Just have more space and so on, but black is not getting killed immediately. And after many moves after bishop c4, he will be killed immediately. One of them is bishop e7, that's what was played in the game. Even worse is this move. This is a very funny variation that leads to a winning attack for white, for example. I discuss all those lines in my e4 Keep It Simple repertoire released on Chessable. It's really not too bad to look at those lines. I know it looks obscure at the moment maybe, but if you get this on the board all the time. In the game he played bishop e7, after which I take, and now if you would have taken with the knight, you get this, where this double attack wins the big e5 pawn, like g6 in white is a lot better. Here, however, recaptured with a pawn, which after queen d5 prompted resignation immediately. f7 is lost. And well, what do you do now? You have no decent move. Black is just totally lost. So winning in 6 move is always nice. Okay, the next game I had black against Sochia, I don't know. It was a closed variation of the Ruy Lopez, and that was interesting. When we jumped to move 20, and I should switch the perspective, I gained a bit of space. I got d65, d5, d4 in, and I was quite happy with my position. However, now white played an odd maneuver. He played queen to f3. I went king h7 to prepare g6, and he decided to go back. That was a bit odd. And now here queen to d8 would have been a very strong move. I did not think about this at all. Queen to d8 is difficult because it's a retreat to the square where the queen was originally being positioned. Now it looks, sorry, that was wrong. It looks at h4, which means that g6 threatens now to win the knight. And white has a bit of a problem here to prevent that, but you know, what can you do? You can, for example, go back here, but it doesn't help all that much. I have c4, I've got rook c8. Queen d8 would be a strong move. I played rook a d8, simply centralizing, and after bishop c1, g6, knight back, c4, I had a huge initiative on the queen side. And it led to a very good position that was, yeah, very good is a bit of an understatement. I had a really almost winning position. But there was a really a cool moment a little bit later. I won the d5 pawn, rook e1, and now I should have taken on c3. Just take the pawn. It's a tempo, which is important, attacking this, and white only has very awkward moves to address it, like king to f1. I played bishop g7, however, and after knight e4, the knight got activated. And now, after the move knight b3, knight f6, take. In fact, this was attacked, and that was something that I did not really recognize beforehand. That I have to spend now a move, a tempo, to cover f7. I played queen to c7, and that turned out to be a grave mistake if you would have now found the correct continuation. However, I feel it's a very difficult move to play. Here, the move bishop f4 would have totally annihilated me. I cannot take it, which is quickly checked, threatening mate in two ways, and it's just lost. It's just lost. I cannot take it, but at the same time he's threatening bishop takes d5 and then to mate me here. My king is a little bit weakened, my king position. Bishop f4 was winning. It was just winning. After bishop e3, I managed to get the knight back into the game, and here I got everything saved and won quite quickly. So I was a lucky one. Next game here against Boskioski. Yeah, that was a Scotch 4 knights where black decided to take and play d6. This kind of setup where black is going for a d6 based approach is always better for white, simply because of space and just ease of the play. It's so easy now for me to play. If you look at this, like here, I got this f3 long castle setup, and then you push g4 and attack on the king side. It's absolutely unclear what black's counterplay is. He's got no clear pawn storm. A move like c6 would weaken the d6 pawn a lot. Very difficult to give him some advice. Black played knight d7. And at this moment I went f4 and expected him to play knight to c6. After knight c6, the queen moves. I must be better quite clearly because of those pawns. It's a huge space advantage, but that would have been better than his choice. He took on g4, and that does not work at all because I can take and play rook g1, and there is this enormous pressure on g7, so the bishop cannot move. After h5, h3, c5, queen c3, I was a piece up and won this quite quickly. Nothing much happened. Okay, in the next game I got black. Save the perspective. I could have, yeah. Anyway, I could have done that with a key. Yeah, I played a Karo, and we had a fairly typical Karo position. I was quite happy here. White had castled, and the h-pawn looked like more of a weakness than anything else. Still nothing special. He played h5, I went queen to h4. I'm a bit behind in development, but the position is pretty nice. The d5 knight is very stable, quite comfortable. He played knight e5, which I decided to take. Bishop e7, rook d1. And one thing that I absolutely did not have on the radar is that white now had the intention to play rook to d4, trapping my queen. It is, with hindsight, extremely obvious, but I did not have it on the radar at all. I played bishop g5 and then got hit by rook d4, and it was an absolute coincidence that I actually have the move queen takes g3 now. Otherwise I would lose immediately. But queen takes g3 is in fact quite nice for black. The way the game went, he took the queen, I'm just winning. I've got two minor pieces plus a rook, and there is no concrete problem inside. So this was something that would have won, or that won the game quite quickly. He, in fact, after queen takes g3, he should have played differently, probably rook takes d5. And here, after bishop takes rook d3, I am definitely better, but white has a good chance of fighting. Yeah, something like queen here, rook takes, queen g5, or queen c5. I don't know what the best square is, maybe f7. I don't know. I'm a pawn up, but things are not all that easy. In the game, I got all those minor pieces, and it's just an excellent position. You just get to blockade the king side, and then step by step get a piece coordination in, and pick up all the pawns. Yeah, here he resigned. It's no fun. Bishop f4 is coming in. I'm ready to take off everything simply. Okay, then I played this game against Passwords. Yeah, that was a fairly clear win. I played the Petrov with black, and white played this early c4 move, which is actually quite interesting, but I don't think that dangerous. After bishop b4 check, yes, we move it twice, but white now does not have anything super great available. He played king f1, which is the most interesting move and probably the intention of the whole line. But we have to check different things. If he takes this decision, knight goes out, I can develop. And white's play is not that easy. I have lots of active pieces and will probably trade down more and be okay. After king f1, castles, c5, c6. White's king position was a little bit iffy on f1. Not that I can mate him, but it disturbs the coordination quite a bit. On the other hand, the bishop on b4 was a little bit weak. Yeah, the way it turned out, I got my pieces out easily, and with b6 I managed to attack his pawn chain. Something like that proved to be excellent for black. and yeah, I won that fairly easily later. Yeah, jump here. I got this strong attack on f3, so it was a fairly straightforward win. Okay, and then I got white against ich 2, ich 2, and that was an accelerated dragon. We had a fairly normal looking position up to a certain point, up to here. Here I was quite happy with my position. I thought I should be a little bit better. My pieces are a bit more active. The g7 bishop is not doing all that much. He played, however, now the surprising move knight to a5. And this is an instructive moment. The knight comes to a5 to attack my b3 bishop, which is of course a nuisance. But what black did not take into account is that I have a couple of tactical solutions now, because the knight to a5 adds quite a bit of looseness to black's position. I decided to play bishop f4. The alternative rook takes e7 was also very decent. After queen takes knight d5 and then knight b6 with check to follow. White is winning a pawn and has a good position on top. Bishop f4, however, is not bad either. The queen doesn't have much choice. It has to take, and then we get into the 7th rank, and d5 is totally unprotected. And I won that pawn. Yeah, it was fairly nice for me. I took this. Knight b6 just to trade. Oops, I'm sorry. Just to trade. He took my pawn and I managed to get to this position. And here, after king h7, I think I am slightly better for sure. Maybe even clearly better, but it's just, it's a game. But he took on b2 and I played rook e6, which was a funny moment because I was cursing myself for blundering the rook. Yeah, queen takes, and I lose my queen. He did not play that, and correctly so, because after e7 I will promote. It's a really wacky position. I can promote. There's no way for him to get to e8 with the rook. He can check, but then he doesn't have access to e1 because the knight is there. Sorry, the knight is there. It's really weird. So rook e6, I was really thinking I blundered, but I didn't. And after quite a bit of time spent, he shocked me by taking d5, which is of course not working at all because of rook e8 check. Yeah, so I won this game. Then I had white against Sokia. I don't quite remember this game. Ah, I do remember the game. Okay, but before I go into it, I have to switch on the lights a little bit. It's getting a bit dark. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, this is a game that I really was not enjoying all that much. He took here on c4 in the Slav and played b5, bishop b7. This is a setup that is considered to be quite incorrect. You have to see that I have not yet committed to anything. I have not played g3 or I have not played the c1 bishop. He has not played e6, so I can go e4. And this is a nice position. It is very much comparable to a Maron variation, but there is no knight on c3. And that is a nice thing to have. I, however, didn't play it well. I played bishop d3, a6, castles knight e7, and here instead of my move bishop g5, I should have played a4. And after that, white has a comfortable game. He cannot easily play c5 because b5 is under fire. It is probably a bit better for white. I'm not sure about the extent of the advantage, but it's comfortable. I went bishop g5, h6 was played, I went back bishop e7, knight d7, and black played c5. Yeah, and here I was really annoyed at myself. I really remember that very vividly because I rather quickly took on c5. I should have taken on f6 with the bishop. That is a far more principled continuation. After knight takes, I win the pawn, and this is probably a rather clean pawn. I'm threatening b4 to cover it for a long time, and he has no real way to prevent it. So this is very good. Better is to play g takes after I got ideas like d5, which leads to unclear play. I should have taken on f6. It was a lot stronger. I took on c5, and after knight takes, I recognized that the formerly planned or earlier planned bishop f6 is actually not helping, because he can take with the g pawn and even get attacking ideas on the g file. The way it went, I was okay, but it was not easy to play, and he played it very nicely with king to f8 here, for example, and then 1e4. Here my position is in huge trouble. It was a nicely played game by black. In the event of the game, here I was facing bishop takes f3 and bishop b4, and yeah, I fell into bishop b4. Then I mean, both, you could really do anything great, but that was giving away material and the game quite clearly. The next game, here I got black against Simarji. Let me switch sides. Yeah, okay, I remember that game. It was I played a somewhat unconventional opening with d6 and g6, and white played a fairly slowish queen pawn opening. It was one moment was interesting. That was here when I got in c5. I mean, I think the engine assesses the position as equal and wants to take on c5 in order to play bishop d4 next. But white, obviously not an engine but a human, played the move knight f6, which I think is a mistake. I get to take it and put the bishop here, and now the resulting structure is not that nice. I think black is quite comfortable, even more so after he allowed me to play c4 when there is c3, queen a2, yeah, lots of things threatened. Yeah, in the game I snatched those pawns and managed to win quite easily. Let's switch. I'm playing here black against impassive. Yeah, that was interesting. We had an Italian game, very normalish position, and here white is most of the time, like in this general position type, I'm not talking about this position in particular, is playing slow maneuvers, rook e1, bishop b3, things like that. But white went d4, and I was happy about it, because now after taking in d5 I get a structural imbalance. I expected him to capture and felt that this is probably roughly equal. He played bishop d3, however, and now there was a funny moment, because during the game I saw that I can take on d4, and after knight takes, take this, and now everything here is hanging and I'm getting a piece back, which means I will be material up. I'm taking stuff, 2 pawns. Then, however, I thought, wait, why so complicated? I can just take on e4 first and then take on d4. And while I was playing that, I was totally missing that in the sequence knight f6, queen f6, knight d4, that I cannot take due to this. This is a very typical motif on the d file. And I was extremely lucky that white didn't do that, because it's a totally forced line and I'm just a piece down. Instead, he took on d4, after which I can take. And I saw that one, like this. I mean, it happened. No, it didn't happen. Like if he would have taken on f6, take with the queen, and I have a comfortable position with the pawn up. It's not an easy win because the rook on a7 is so awkward, but it's a pawn. White played the astonishing move rook c1 in order to play this. And now the engine says I should just take b2. Of course, yeah, greedy can pay off, but I felt that this is just good. Queen d5, the rook has to take bishop f5, and here we got to an ending that is very nice for black. It's just a pawn. And offered a rook trade, and that slowly improved the position, gaining some space, and now the rook on d4 is having a really nice position. a4 is weak, and after rook b4, b2 is also weak, and very shortly afterwards here white resigned after losing all the pawns, and now I'm getting the exchange back and have a king and pawn ending with 3 extra pawns. Okay, we got this one. There was also, yeah, that was a game that I really, that's one of those where when the commentary being lost is really annoying, because it was an entertaining commentary for sure. White went knight c3 against Petrov, and I went back to f6. Not a bad line, not the most principal one, but it's not too bad. Yeah, what White did here, he went for for long castling against this line, and this is not a good decision. Black with b5 gets a really quick attack. Bishop d3, a5, and oops, I'm sorry. Yeah, so we have a situation of a pawn race on opposite side of the board. Black is quite quick. I went b4, knight e4, knight to d5, securing this excellent square. And he played this one, h6, gave the check. And after king f8, it's almost a point of no return, admittedly, but still, he took on f7, which is entirely incorrect. I mean, that does not work in the slightest bit. He sacrificed yet another bishop, but after rook h8, this is quite clearly refuted. You will lose more stuff. Knight g5 check, I played king f8, and those pieces are completely weirdly positioned. Sorry, I keep hitting this wrong button. You played bishop to g6, I took the bishop, knight f7, and here is a mysterious thing. I saw that bishop g5 will win quite easily. Yeah, I'm simply pinning the queen. But somehow I felt like if you takes here, take, rook takes, somehow I felt it's not so clear. I mean, but I am piece up for 2 pawns. He's got no attack. After king g7, in fact, I'm winning extremely easily. Yeah, I don't know. I was seeing some ghosts there, but I played queen c7. It is still good for black, probably, the whole thing, but it is not easy to play. And after king b1, king to g7, takes bishop here. He checked me and now played rook d1. This is a win for black if you let the engine play, but it is not so simple to play for a human. And after knight a6 and bishop to b7, the situation was becoming not all that clear. Here bishop d2 was still good, but the thing is, you have to see little things. Like here, you have to see the move c5 before, and that this is a huge diagonal, and it's not so easy to play this move because the bishop on b7 was kind of a useless spectator the whole time. Yeah, I missed that one. And after knight f6 and queen d3, like here, moves like g5, they are easy attacking moves, and I just got wiped out. Yeah, just got totally wiped out. Yeah, it was a bit of a shame because, well, I am never really a fan of somebody sacrificing material against me that does not work at all. And I mean, this is the kind of thing, if you see that, it is like by intuition totally obvious that it cannot work. I mean, it never can work. I mean, if white really thought it would work, he has a weird concept or weird idea of attacking chess, because this can only work if you have some, let's say, on that part of the board, you have some sort of material majority. You have some kind of material dominance, active pieces, whatnot. But I have a couple of defenders, and I have not weakened my position at all. So that can never work, but somehow I didn't manage to get this sorted out. Next one here, that was a white game against Ali Pur. That was very interesting actually. We got this position. I was quite happy. White has a favorable French type position, knight e4, bishop c2, and he took on g3, and I was happy to take with the f pawn to get the f file half opened. Yeah, white has everything geared towards the king side. He played this, and now shockingly played c4, which was really, I was like, what? You're closing down the position while you're getting checkmated on the other side of the board? Okay, I played g4, b4, g5, knight h5, only move, otherwise it's opening up immediately. I went knight h4, which is still fine, g6, rook f1, take, bishop a3. And here I could have wiped out black, and I didn't do it. Rook f6 here was extremely strong. Just to double this, it is absolutely irrelevant that he's attacking something here after rook f1, a1. Black is collapsing, like rook here you can already sacrifice. You just have an enormous dominance, let's say, of attacking pieces. Far too many. White will win here. In the game I played rook b1, preventing any bishop b2, and I got a nice looking position, but it did not really turn out to be all that great. He managed to trade, and after even more trades, this was a fairly equal ending. And it was equal up to this point. Here black should play, basically play whatever. Yeah, just don't do what he did. He played a5, and that is a bad decision. Now I get bishop a3 in, and with a5 I have an easier time to enter. For example, the knight may enter like that. He played bishop d8, and now I made a mistake. I mean, we both were in time trouble, of course, but I made a mistake. I should play bishop d6, keeping the tension. Instead, I just hacked the knight and wanted a position that is totally risk-free, which is definitely true. It's a totally risk-free position. However, here black made a mistake. He has only one move, that is bishop to e7. You need to cover this entry square of the white king. This is in all likelihood a draw. He played king 8, however, and then all of a sudden I'm in waiting. He stopped further invasion, but now this was impossible to stop, and black resigned. Yeah, I did not use my chances all that well in this game, ultimately. At the end, yes, I used them, but I had a better middle game before. Okay, this was white against Biljana. Yeah, this was a French exchange with bishop g4, which can oftentimes turn out to be pretty dubious. Here the issue was he took on f3, and here somehow decided to play knight to b4. And this was one of those cases where black was like dashing out the opening, and I don't know why exactly. The first moment, the first time he got to think about a move was when he was already lost. Now I can just take on d5 and I'm better. I mean, white is better anyway, but this is just winning a big pawn. got this, checked me, and here I saw that bishop d2 is a fairly simple win, and he took on b2, which is not the toughest move, but yeah, what can you do? It's just pretty awful. Check. You have to play c6, yeah, king here is a immediate mate. Played c6, and here we have a simple solution. We can just sacrifice and castle, and the resulting attack is totally unstoppable. Yeah, the king is quite ridiculous on e7, and rook fe1 is just so strong. After this, rook e1, black resigned. He's mated next move, king here, rook e8, checkmate. So very uneven match. Okay, we had this game against Are They Mismai. Yeah, I remember. It was a Sicilian Rossolimo where I got a good center control. Here I already like white a lot because white's play is so easy. Knight c3, get the bishop out, enjoy the space. But he played queen to c7, which is an odd decision. After knight c3, you immediately faced with those potential knight jumps. e6 was played, weakening the position. Bishop f4, a6, rook c1. It's a fantastic position. Yeah, white has got everything developed nicely, and black is not yet close to castling. He tried e5, after which I took and played knight b5, and this is quite clearly winning the house. Yeah, you win the rook or whatever. It's just not going to hold. He played the queen to c6, which was odd, but so I took it and I was just totally winning. It's important to see that in a position like this, a slowish setup like g6 makes more sense when white is already committed to d4. Here, after c3 and d4, the black piece placement is not really designed to put any pressure on the center. I'm not saying it's terrible, but it's difficult to handle. It's much easier if you get a clearer grip on the center. So I'm very happy here. Then there was this game, black against Schutnik. Yeah. We got this position. And here I was quite optimistic because the dark squares are very weak on the white side. f4, e3, d4, and we have possible ways to get the knight to invade. And this is in fact what happened. I stopped the queenside play and now regroup the knight. Yeah, f6. This is more than a waiting move. It prepares bishop back, knight e6, knight d4. And white has no active play. I managed to get all of that in, and I was very happy now. I mean, this is a fantastic position. You have the better structure, you've got pawns that you attack, and white has no play. Yeah, in the game we had some trades, and I managed to pick up one by one some material. Yeah, and this ending was extremely favorable for black, and I managed to win it quite quickly. So then we had this position where this game where I was black. Yeah, there was a funny one where yeah, white somehow blitzed out, and then the first move he was thinking about, it was too late. a3. Yeah, this is an odd variation, this a3 line. White is basically saying like, okay, now it's your turn, do something that helps you. And some things don't really help. For example, a move like bishop c5 is played not so often because of this sacrifice, a common idea, and white is probably a bit better. You also have a hard time to just say, okay, I can do the same, because here this is quite favorable for white. It's called 4 knights, where this move is just not playable. So you cannot just copy moves. So at the end of the day I played d5, which is the most logical move probably. And now white went bishop b5. That leads to funny complications. I take with the knight on e4, and now white went queen to e2. Most interesting is knight e5, after which I recommend to play queen to f6. Queen g5 is also playable. It's super sharp, of course. Oops, what did I do? Okay. Well, he played queen to e2, I played queen to d6. I know all that stuff from colors reversed. If you play the Scotch 4 knights, you can get the same position with colors reversed. Here white has the extra move a3, which doesn't really help all that much. So we got this, and here white has to be quite careful. He probably has to play a slowish move like d3. But white, without thinking all that much, grabbed the pawn, and after queen g6 is already in bad shape, really bad shape. The white position is actually worse than it looks. You currently quite quickly see that I'm threatening here, I'm threatening to take the knight. He played queen to c3. A more natural move is probably this, but after bishop d6 I have an excellent position. For example, after the trade, the h file is open and black has a fantastic attack. He played queen c3, and in fact I remembered now the best move from my analysis back then for the reversed color scenario. The move rook to d5 is immensely strong. Black wants to play bishop d6, rook h5 and play for mate. And this is fantastically strong. I remember when the engine gave that with colors reversed, how shocked I was that this is a total winner. So I remembered that move. He played g3 now. I mean, white is already lost objectively. g3, I just played rook c5. Queen went bishop d6, intending rook e8. Yeah, he played c3, which was, yeah, I don't know, just ignoring everything. And after rook e8 resigned. Yeah? Look at the queen, it doesn't have any useful squares. Yeah, it also has to still cover f3. So white resigned here, he just loses the house. Very clean win. Okay, I had white in this game. Yeah, this was another opening disaster. I played the Scotch 3 knights, and after bishop c5 I was able to play that pseudo sacrifice, which is comfortable for white. But after bishop takes and d4, I'm even a lot, I'm even better than just by a little bit. It's really a great position. I can easily develop, and black has problems. c5 I didn't get, I just take the pawn, and here I'm ready for rook f1, and well, it was a total disaster. Yeah, and here resign. I win the rook on h8 and everything. Yeah, this is a very commonly seen variation, bishop c5. I'm always surprised because that sacrifice or pseudo-sacrifice on e5 is like second nature to any e4, e5 player, but people still stumble into that frequently. Okay, this game, yeah, okay, I remember. That was a Pilz defense. When black played c5, I took it, and now queen a5 is played, and the best move. Queen a5, of course, it takes my pawn. After bishop d3, pawn takes, bishop d2. I think white is a bit better. I'm threatening those moves, but it's nothing special. Here, however, recaptured, which surprised me because I'm winning the c5 pawn, and there is not a big compensation at all. I decided to actually give up the bishop pair at this moment, because after e5 and bishop d3, I get this enormous e4 square. The bishop b7, bishop e4, take, take. White's position is basically winning, and the way it turned out, I won this quite easily. It's just like, it's not just the pawn, but also the way the pieces are positioned. Both knights here are nice, knight on e4 in particular, and the pawn on c3 is covering d4 for the rest of the game. Yeah, I managed to win this technical part of the game quite easily. Okay, then I had black here. Yeah, that was an interesting game. Actually, let's switch sides. It was a King's Indian. I played a King's Indian for a change, and he played the Samish. I went in a6 based setup and later played to play c5. And I was very surprised to see that my b5 pawn sacrifice wasn't all that great. The engine actually wants me to play this move in order to threaten to take and play knight e5. And in fact, the replies are not all that satisfactory, because a move like b3 can be very nicely answered by b5. If you play the King's Indian and you play setups with c5, those Benko-ish maneuvers are quite common. Yeah, I played b5 however and went for a pawn sacrifice. And here I don't have enough compensation. If he goes b3, it's very questionable if I have enough. Very likely that's not the case. Yeah, in the game I managed to get some Benko-ish type of compensation. You cannot easily play e5 as I am on d5, and after rook a1 and c4 my counterplay was getting momentum. He took it, rook b2, very active pieces, and in fact I managed to invade here quite quickly, and white has huge coordination issues. I won material soon after, and with it the game. There was nothing spectacular happening afterwards. And I had white against Jugador Bisogno. That was a funny game. He played the LA cards with bishop g4. I played bishop e2, and he blitzed out g6, and like everything here was like instant. Yeah? I went knight g5. He took it. Bishop g7. He had used like 1 minute at this, a couple of seconds at this point, and of course I'm already totally winning. The cleanest one, which I missed, is queen f3. This is just a total, like, yeah, sorry. Here, it's a double attack, and I'm winning the knight. I did not play it because 1 or 2 moves earlier I was seeing that e6 is also very strong, and I did not really look again. I just played e6. It makes a lot of sense. The light squared bishop is gone, so attacking on that color complex will be very, very dangerous. If he moves the f pawn now, knight f7 will win the exchange, and yeah, I maintain a nice position. He castled, I took it, king h8, and now important not to waste time with anything, just go for mate. h4, he played knight c6, and h5, you can do that. At this moment I already saw that after knight d4, hg6, I can sacrifice the queen. Here the queen cannot be taken, quite obviously, because of the mate. He played h6, and here I have knight e6, which is quite cute. He took the queen, and bishop takes h6, and here resigned. There is no way to stop the mate. I'm threatening bishop takes g7, double check and mate, and black simply has no defense. He can give that, but this is going to be a mate and 2 moves. Yeah, I'm quite happy. That's a funny little miniature win. Okay, the next one here I had black, and oh yeah, that was a fantastically played game by my opponent. We had an Italian game, d3, d6, knight c3. He played a very conservative line, and I made a mistake here, not a huge one, but still. I don't like knight f6 here all that much, because after bishop g5 I think white, in fact white has chances for a slight advantage. It's not much, but this is what they usually do, and I think white might be marginally better. The move that I play here normally is h6, just wait for 1 move and then go knight f6. However, I confused things and I played a6 first, and he went knight g5, and this is in fact quite an annoyance. Knight h6, I'm forced basically. He played h3, and I managed to get rid of this bishop. So take. And here I should probably castle and be okay. I played f6, however. Check. King here, and knight f3. I was actually thinking that the whole action by white does not really do all that much, because the queen is actually not having many squares, which is true. It only has h4. Castle to g6, and here he really shocked me a little bit by just playing this and queen h4. I mean, I was shocked by the speed. You just like whoosh playing that, because it is a very, very committal decision. It all is kind of, it's a bit loose. I'm attacking this, which is barely covered by the queen. I have g5, after which there's only one square on h5. But it turns out, computer analysis shows this is just not much. I played bishop e6. Okay, he went back to e3. Took it, king g7, rook f2. And here, this position is totally okay for me. I just have to avoid what I do. And the move that I played was really, really punished very hard. I played f5, and I wanted to solve the issues immediately. Not sitting on a weakish pawn for a long time, simply get rid of it. But I'm opening up the position in an untimely fashion. Here I'm already basically lost. Knight g5 is very strong, knight h4 is very strong as ideas. Yeah, and here invasion time. It's beyond saving, you cannot save it. Knight g8 I tried, but he smashed on g6, and I actually allowed the mate. Yeah, it was just like being like, getting a big hammer down on your head. Fantastic play. I don't know, he just killed me. Okay, I had a black game here against Luis Michel. Yeah, that was what was that game like? Yeah, okay, that was a fairly it was a maneuvering game, and we got an ending, got this ending, which if anybody is better, it must be black. Yeah, the knight is the more flexible piece. White at best can try to attack d6 with the bishop, and it's easily covered. Still, the whole thing, the whole position is very close, so it's very difficult to win. However, in the game, white played the a-pawn, and I responded with b6. Probably I shouldn't have done that, but it will be difficult to win anyhow. In the game, however, something funny happened, really. We were maneuvering back and forth, and still nothing much happens. Yeah, but now we played bishop d8, and after knight e6, it's funny, this bishop is lost. If he goes bishop e7, I have king c6, king d7. And where do you go? Okay, sorry, it's not lost. He can go to b6, but knight here, knight f3, and picking up everything will win quite easily. Also, if I do this, this is Zugzwang. It has no square, and the king has no move. It's an amazing position somehow. Yeah, he can try d4, but take is going to win very easily. Yeah, he went to h4, and after g5, the bishop was trapped. So yeah, you have to be persistent in the endings. Yeah, sometimes even simplified positions can give some hope. Then this one against Masoud. Yeah, that was a complicated position after a weird opening. Let me see what is a good time to jump in. We had an ending. I would like to look at the ending a bit. He played a5, I went a4, and I mean you see that this is probably just going to be a draw. I was surprised that in this particular position he did not play simply b6. After a move like that, I think it's just totally equal. He tried b5, after which I win that pawn, and he gets h3. But I felt this is a trade that is rather favorable for me, as I have a free A pawn. It's a passer, and black does not have any. And I'm going to get maybe this up. Yeah, he played knight f4, I went bishop f6, and now he surprised me by playing bishop f8. And this after knight e5 is very nice for white. Black does not really have a great square. However, he chose the worst square, yeah, giving me the bishop, and he resigned. He should have gone to c7 instead, after which a move like knight f7 is going to be a bit better for me, because those pawns are weak, but it's not a decisive factor yet. Okay, in the game he played this and blundered the bishop. And we had this game against Karen here with black. Let me have a look. Ah yeah, this was interesting. It was a fairly unspectacular game. We got this endgame position, which is just basically about equal. But there was an interesting situation. We got this. And in this position, he absolutely has to move his bishop away. Bishop f3, king f3, yeah, king f3 is actually okay. I'm sorry, king f3 is okay. Okay, I took, and now he has to take with a king. He took with the knight, and this is a funny one, because after bishop c6, he's in a deadly self-pin. Yeah, now, if he moves the king, I will take it. Oops, so I will take it. So he has to play the f-pawn. In the game he took, after f5, I have the simple move e5, and he's running out of moves simply. it's really quite funny. I get this. After the capture, I play king g6, and again it suits one. Here, check, and just a waiting move, and I'm winning this next using that deadly pin. That was nice. Basically a win out of the blue. Yeah, so that was a quick run through the 30 games. I think this makes more sense than uploading 30 games without anything, and adding later, editing the videos, it's just a stretch. So I think this at least got you got something out of the 30 games, and I will continue to record the Blitz videos. It's a bit of a shame. You know, I'm leaving for my vacation in 2 weeks, and what I wanted to do is I wanted to have basically most of the time of that vacation basically pre-uploaded, yeah, so I don't have to record anything at my place during the vacation. So I'm not going to be able probably to do that, but I will still be able to make a couple of videos, maybe even while I'm away. Thanks a lot for watching this, guys. Bye bye.